is in the eye of the beholder isn't reality. I think it absolutely is. Like how my belief is, my reality is what I am capable of doing, not currently where I am now.
But I believe the great is still yet to come. I won't stop fighting, man, until I'm done.
This is good because I think you and I differ on this, but I want to have a lively debate on this one. Okay. If beauty is in the eye of the beholder, isn't reality?
See, I don't think so. I think your reality is your reality. Now, your future could be in the eye of the beholder, but your reality, where you stand right now, I believe is where you stand right now.
Yeah, like Bill Parcells, you are what your record says you are.
Yeah.
And so this is a great lesson, I think, for everybody, really. It is, when we teach people, not everybody receives information in the same way. So my father had his doctorate in education. My mother was a school teacher. My ex-wife was a school teacher. I grew up in a house of school teachers. And, sometimes like magazines would come and I'd thumb through different things. And one was like, there's 4 different ways to learn, I think it was. And this is a long time ago. But basically, some people learn better by reading something. Some people learn better by hearing an anecdotal story. Mm-hmm. Some people learn by putting themselves in a better position, kinesthetically, I guess. And it was going through all these different ways of learning. So at the end of each golf lesson that Richie and I teach, I guess the worst, by the way, the worst lesson I ever had of anything, because I took up guitar later in life, I had a guitar instructor that I was working with, right? And it was a 30-minute lesson. And when I sat down, he flipped over the egg timer, right? And literally in 29 minutes and 59 seconds, when that last grain of sand went through the egg timer, he stopped in mid-sentence. Okay, see you next week. And I walked out. The man didn't really care if I learned anything. He just fulfilled his 30 minutes. Whereas Richie and I, when we teach, we're like a doctor's office, basically. Because if someone does not understand that concept, we will spend an extra minute or two to make sure they do. Yep. But what else we do is we write down. We give the student, homework. We have a specific homework, and it's old school, guys. But we have the triplicate copies. We keep one for ourselves, one the customer gets, and then one Mary gets to file through to make sure we're staying on top of the ball.
Whenever she gets them from us.
We ran. But we're getting better, right, Mary?
A little bit.
Oh, wow. Okay. We're getting a little better.
We're trying.
So what I do and what I've done in the past is I actually used to keep different colored pens sometimes because I saw somewhere like purple, red, and orange, like people, that pops. So sometimes I'd circle stuff like that. And then I'd draw diagrams where I'd write stories. Like one of our favorite stories, and we say the most misunderstood word in golf is what?
Swing.
Swing. Yes. Yeah, so Richie and I, we're going to do our boy band. We're going to, the monotones. Let it go, let it go. Sometimes we'll put that on the bottom, right? Yeah. That's what we'll put on the bottom of a sheet. So, I guess long story short, there's different ways for people to learn, and it's our job to communicate that way. So my way, like when it says beauty is in the eye of the beholder isn't reality, I think it absolutely is. Like how my belief is, my reality is what I'm capable of doing, not currently where I am now. Mm-hmm. So that's how the podcast, right? Well, we don't have a podcast. We have no idea what we're doing, and we still don't.
See the bloopers.
The bloopers. So, incidentally, the first 5 minutes of today's podcast, we realized that the microphone was not plugged in. So, and that's our high tech. So,
I enjoyed it.
Mary enjoyed the first 5 minutes. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate it. So, my reality is the Eric Thomas example. Mm-hmm. A guy who basically had nothing and decided to do these podcasts, every day for, I guess, over a year. And to preach his beliefs and what he thought and the whole 9 yards. If his reality was, I think he's from Detroit. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think he splits his time between Detroit and San Diego. I think his wife has MS. So rather than being, because I guess there's a correlation between weather, climate, and like MS
The
stress.
sun gives her energy.
Correct,
I believe is
yeah.
what it is. Something along those lines.
Right, sun. Did I tell you I'm so bright? My mom calls me son.
It just
had
doesn't get
had to throw
There
it
it is.
I had to throw this one dad joke in.
There it is.
Yeah. So, so that's he goes back and forth. But this guy basically, grew up in the projects and had nothing, and he had a vision of what his reality is. So that is how I'm living my life.
Yeah.
Now, Richie's motivation level is the Tom Brady syndrome, right?
Yeah.
He likes to, and when I coached at Rutgers, or when I still coach at Rutgers, but Rutgers at Camden, if you Google Camden, it by the way, Camden's gotten a ton better since I've been there. I mean, it's proved a lot. But at one point, I can think 60 Minutes did a special on it, 20, 30 years ago, that it was like the number one crime city in the country. So recruiting for golf in that in that setting is you have to sell a vision. Like, you have to sell what you're all about, as opposed to the reality of what the city is. So
Yeah.
that's the way I pursue things. But when I coached you and brought you aboard, yeah, I took the and I'm not an Eagle fan, sorry folks, but I'm not the Buddy Ryan mentality is it's like us against the world.
Yeah.
Right. And when you go that way, we had a shirt made actually, and my son, who's very Colt and very artistic kid, he helped design it. But basically, it said, what was the
It was Underdog something.
Yeah.
It was the year before I was there.
Right. So, but basically, the T-shirt said that we were not respected.
Yeah.
Right. And that was our battle cry for that team.
Yeah.
And by the time 2019 rolled around, we beat the number one team in the country.
Yeah.
So, again, just different points of motivation. But from your experience, right? I mean, you can't teach everybody the same way, correct?
No, you cannot.
No.
Not everyone learns differently. So you have to find out how you're going to teach everybody.
Yeah.
Person to person.
You got to find their hot spot. Yeah. So that's, I guess, today's overall thing is get off the couch. Okay. It's my father, God bless him wherever he is today. He instilled that in me. Like, yeah, you can sit around all day and just say, reality is what it is. I think reality is where I'm going. The vision, right? Set the bar high, go for that. So, with that said, we're not going to stop until we get to where we want to be, guys. That's what we want to do with this world. So.
Glass of bourbon, my bourbon, my bourbon, Alcohol is no great story ever started with, I'll have a salad.